Dinner is from 7 to 8, 7:30 to 8:30.
Macons, that's the same thing, and they averaged, and these were people working at a really nice resort, they averaged $100 a week, U.S.
And they cannot leave unless they own something. They won't give them a visa.
It's because they're afraid
Because they
Jamaicans
think
leave,
that
they're
if
not
they
going to
leave,
They're not coming back.
Right, they'll get a job.
Can you blame them?
I feel so bad. It's just they're so...
They have to be tied down there. They have to have like a family, or they have to have children,
business,
or they have
or
to
own a
have business,
home.
or own real estate.
And to that, the parents should be thanked for raising such wonderful kids. It's a pleasure to coach them. Through nail-biting wins, as well as some tough, heartbreaking losses, the one thing that was displayed was class, in losing and in winning. Numerous comments were made throughout the year by parents, parents of opposing teams, administrations from opposing teams, as well as our administration, on how truly special our kids looked and how classy they were, how they dressed for game days, how they behaved themselves, how they cleaned up after themselves. Those are all non-basketball things that we're very, very proud of here at Stagg High School. And that, again, is truly a product of the parents. Okay, at this time, I'd like to make some thanks. A lot of these people are not present, but we'd still like to thank them. The band does an outstanding job. We'd like to thank them. We'd like to thank the cheerleaders and the pom-poms. We'd like, in order to play a 29-game season at the varsity level, we need to have people who are very competent individuals who could give us an answer, yes or no, he could play, yes or no, he can't play, and also be able to answer the parents' questions. I am not a master of the human body, and Mike Petty and Kristen Green did an outstanding job getting our players, your boys, ready for the games. And they deserve a great amount of thanks. And again, Mike Petty was unable to make it tonight, but we did do a little tribute to him. But he will be sorely missed at Stagg High School because he is retiring this year. Our administration we'd like to thank.
As Coach Labrado introduced, and thank you all for coming. Let me just talk briefly about the freshman program. We start out with a great group of guys to work with, as were the sophomores this year, as freshmen last year. Couldn't ask for a better group. And again, great students at Stagg High School, great players, great athletes. A really, really great place to work and coach. The 18 had a record of 5-18 overall. They got out to a nice start, 2-1 at the Thanksgiving tournament for the Consolation Championship. B team had a 6-13 record overall, and out of those 13 losses, 8 of them were 8 points or less. So they really had some really nice games this year. They
Oh, did he say that?
Matt Donahue.
We're gonna be kicked out.
Please, don't be.
Joe Eliana. John Farrell. Chris Huber. Mike Massini. John Mulrooney. Ed Newman. AJ Parhas. Bob Paulicki. Anna Polinsky.
Nice affair. Did fine.
Our next program is our sophomore level. Sophomore level in the past has been run with one coach, but we've had a unique opportunity.
Mike Emanuelson, you saw him on the bench, he came to some of our games. He volunteered, as Coach said. Coach Emanuelson knew very little about basketball, but he came in and worked very hard to try to help me out and help the players and learn a little bit about the sport as well. And I think he did a good job at that. Tom Savage is a special case because anyone that would voluntarily spend 3 years with me is an odd gentleman, okay? We were right, I've never had a team of guys who was, everything was right down to the end of the game. We won 7 games, 8 actually, and we lost 3 in overtime and 4 by 1 point. So it was a tremendous amount of fun. And those guys, like the teams that I've had in the past, I really appreciate your efforts, okay? And I'd like to acknowledge them individually, gave everything they had, or else. So I think they deserve a great round of applause. To resign as a coach, which is really tough to do because I do love coaching so much. So that's probably why I'm sort of off my game here. But I really want to make sure that I provide the kind of environment to send kids to their grade school and to their high school the way you sent your kids here. Thanks a lot for 4 fantastic years.
The gentleman who just walked off the stage is going to be dearly, dearly missed in our program. He not only was one of the finer fundamental defensive coaches as well as coaches that I've ever been around. He definitely prepared players for the varsity level, but more importantly prepared them for life. And he will definitely be missed. And he made a promise to me. Made a promise, and it was a comment he didn't use tonight, but I really like it, and I'm going to cherish the comment. As he said, in 5 years I could come and coach, but now my kids will only be 5 years old once. So his comment was, in 5 years he's going to come and coach. So when his kids grow up and whenever it's right in his heart, he's always got a spot back here at Stagg High School, especially on my staff. Please give him another hand. Any better move in the district if his kids are 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", if you shoot Okay, the 2001-2002 varsity team was one filled with heart and pride. One of the things we talked about in our parent meeting was our team chemistry, which was essential to the success of our team. The team actually evolved into a family, and it spilled over onto the floor. Now, as a family's concerned, it was for good or bad. I'll tell you what, you walk into our locker room after the game, people were cutting up on each other. On the floor, people were cutting up on each other, and that's a good thing and a bad thing, but I think a close, tight-knit group, they really got along. And I think when you watched us play this year, you definitely saw it. Guys were out there not playing for themselves, they were out there playing for each other. They're playing with pride, they're playing for a program, and they're playing, you know what, it's an easy thing to say, play for someone else, don't play for yourself, but it's a tough thing to actually do, and it was done this year. Your Chargers finished with a record over 500 with 15 wins. 21 games were decided in the fourth quarter, which many left very tense moments. But 21 out of the 29 games, it was tied or within 2 or 4 points in the fourth quarter, which made for very exciting basketball. Very hectic, tense basketball, but very exciting basketball. And we won more than half. From the first game to the last game, it was an exciting season. The first game of the season came down to Jim Farrell driving against Willowbrook and David Genslinger tipping it in for the win. Urshad Shakir had a season high 11 assists versus Bremen. Versus St. Lawrence, David Genslinger hit a turnaround shot, but then we got beat on literally a last-second shot with 0-0-0 on the clock. Versus Rich East, we need Dave Milnes to hit 6 3-pointers to get back into the game. And then Johnny Alexander had a team-high 15 rebounds in that game. We had a victory over Lincoln Way East, which was the first time at Lincoln Way in the history of our school. versus Richards. Dave Genslinger had a school record 13 blocks. The last two were within the last 10 seconds when they were trying 2 3-point attempts, actually 1 2 and 1 3 to secure the victory. Dave also had a very, very rare, for the high school level, triple-double, and a rare type of triple-double. He had 23 points, 11 rebounds, 13 blocks. Nick Leonard sent everybody home on a break with what the Star newspaper called the miracle shot against Andrew. Hit a driving layup to beat him by 2 with a little time left on the clock, with about 2 seconds left on the clock, and everybody was sent to the break smiling. Versus Riverside Brookfield, Dave Genslinger had another record-breaking performance with 34 points in a tough loss. At Oak Park, our guard play was essential in a 2-point victory. Nick Leonard had a career-high 19 points. Ershad Shakir banged a lot of free throws down the stretch, and we played the majority of the game without our star center. And then probably the most spectacular game, I know, one that our seniors will come back in their 10-year, 15-year, 25-year reunion, the victory at Sandburg for the first time in their career. Jim Farrell bangs a 3 to end the third quarter to put us up 1, and then Andy Pooter comes and in the first possession of the fourth quarter hits a 2 in part of an 8-0 run to really put Sandburg away at their own place. To let you understand what our program's about, we run a fundamental program where we take the kids who are freshmen and we build them into basketball players, and the product of that is what you see Friday night, Tuesday night, Saturday night at the varsity level. Let me give you an idea of what happened. We've been here 3 years, and at the freshman level this year, seniors had 1 win. At the sophomore year, this year, seniors had 6 wins. Last year, the seniors, as juniors last year, had 11 wins, and this year they had 15. And everybody opens up the paper and says, well, it's not a 20-win season. Well, you didn't win championships. At Stagg High School with our basketball program, the accomplishment of a group of 6 young men, now it's more than that, but 6 who stayed around as seniors, that right there speaks volumes. You talk about improvement. You know, we talk in the classroom, there's some people who are just bright, just unbelievably bright people who don't have to do homework and don't have to work to get A's. But then there's students who really struggle in the classroom. And they struggle, but they work very hard to get a B or very hard to get a C. I'll tell you what, these young men work very hard for these 15 wins, and they improve through their high school career. And they should be very, very proud of what they've achieved. So please give these guys, as well as everybody, a hand. With that, I give you our 2001-2002 charters. The backbone of our program, what we call our student assistants, our managerial corps. I'd like to bring them up individually and personally thank them. They run our clock. They grab a blocking bag in possessional breakdowns. Donnie Uhas, Chris Uhas, Brian Carouse are grabbing a blocking bag and trying to knock David Genslinger and Dave Mortis over and make it tough on them. There are designated passers. They keep the practice going. We give them a practice plan, and sometimes we say, hey, how many minutes do we have left in the drill? And they know it exactly. They keep just unbelievable stats. You see them with a Palm Pilot computer. They're up to the date with technology. They're keeping stats on a Palm Pilot computer. These guys are really, really good, and it's very rare to have such a good group of guys. So if you guys could come up, Don Uhas. Name may sound familiar. His brother Chris Uhas. Young man who got hurt early in the year but stayed around with our program, Mo Shaban. Just a side note on Mo. Mo is someone we're really, really proud of. We're proud of everybody, but Mo struggled academically a little bit his freshman year, and he really straightened out. He straightened out. He was last year at this time, first time he was an honor student, and he followed through with that. And Mo has really, really worked hard. but it's very rare for someone who gets hurt at the beginning of the year. He had a football injury with the wrist, got hurt at the beginning of the year, and then all of a sudden he comes and is with us for the rest of the season. So that's a tribute to his character, and we really thank him. Please give those three another hand. Now, I don't see him here, but I'm going to mention the next two. The next name is Brian Krause. Brian Krause is our senior manager who has been with us for 4 years, and he is outstanding. Okay, again, please give these guys one more hand. Okay, now, as these guys are going to have a seat, one guy who's kind of in a category all by himself. We call him the man behind the lens. He makes film magic. Okay, he's going to be a good one in whatever he decides to do. Every other Wednesday, he's also a DJ on our local Stagg radio station that's on the World Wide Web. I'm a little disappointed in him, though. I always asked him after our tough losses that is there any way you could splice the film to make our outcome a little bit different? And he could never do it. So, you know, hopefully we'll have him back next year and he can put that together for us. So our film coordinator, Romel Randall. And he is the best dressed film coordinator in the nation. Okay, now our players. We had one sophomore on varsity, although it's kind of a rare sophomore. He's a 2-year varsity player. We expect great things from him. He really showed his stripes at Lockport, the last regular season game when David got in foul trouble and fouled out. In overtime, he pretty much took over the game offensively. He had a career high and a team high that game, 16 points at Lockport. Fierce competitor, and he's one of the key components to the future Stagg basketball. Joey Gantz. Okay, now our juniors. Next individual is known as the shot blocker in our program. Everybody thinks David Genslinger was a great shot blocker. This guy's a shot blocking guru. Whenever he would come into the game, he'd always have a block shot. There'd always be a statistic with a block shot. Whenever we were in practice, all of a sudden, could be Dave Mortis, could be Dave Genslinger, just turn around all of a sudden, his shot would get blocked. And no, they wouldn't like to admit David shaking his head. Never happened to me. Yeah, it did. Okay, this guy really pushed our postmen and did a nice job. Bel Elliott. One of our many twigs in our program. And I use twig as an endearing comment because I know how hard he's going to work this summer to put himself in a position to be a big-time player. He was a tough practice player. He's got a load of potential. He's got a nice jump shot. He is an all-American great kid. He's just a great kid. So we're hoping he could put that aside when he walks on the basketball floor and try to take some mean toughness into the weight room and get a little bit bigger. Mike Bodica. Okay, next gentleman is a great leader, a great competitor, an outstanding defensive player, and he's a very nice athlete. He took a year off from basketball. I like to call it his sabbatical leave. Yeah, a little sabbatical leave. He took a year off, and then he came back into the program his junior year. What he gave us was fun. He gave us fun. He gave us energy. He gave us intensity. He gave us a lot of things that are just underlying team chemistry things. We really feel that this young man dedicates himself to the game. He's going to be able to give us a lot more on the floor next year. Dominique Barnes. You guys, when you come up here and give me some love first, please. Thank you. Next young man we're going to talk on just briefly is not here. He's our He was our third point guard this year, gave us very good practice intensity, pushed our guards daily. Please give Rich Molina a hand. Anybody come to the JV games, which were parents, and that's about it, they saw hopefully one of the more outstanding shooters that is going to be on our program next year. Young man would run certain sideline plays, and we call our plays by different names, numbers, whatever. Well, we've got just a certain set of plays that we're going to have lined up for him next year that are going to be what we call Joe Parisi plays. And Joe Parisi comes off the screens, hits threes. Joe Parisi comes off this screen, hits threes. We really hope for great things. He's an outstanding golfer on top of it, so I'm hoping to get some free golf tips. You know, those are very expensive nowadays. But Joe Parisi's going to work hard this summer and hopefully be on the floor and really be a three-point threat for us. Joe Parisi. Defensive leader, hard-nosed player. This young man really learned about what it was to be a varsity player to a point where the last 2 weeks he was really playing well. He was hitting shots off of screens. He was getting up in people's face. He was making some great steals. He was leading our scout team. I really think that right there is going to set him up for a great summer as well as a great year. We've got to get him in the weight room. We've got a bunch of guys we've got to bury in the weight room. But you know what? He's an all-American kid. You know, he plays 3 sports. He's a soccer kid. He's a baseball kid. He's a basketball kid. But this man's gonna really help us out a lot next year. Billy Sekulovic. Now Mortis is shaking his head, and Farrell said, all-American boy can't play soccer. But I'll call you that anyway. Okay, the next man was probably the most booed player at Stagg High School. You know what, seriously, it was pretty ridiculous how much he was booed. And you know what, that's always a sign of a very, very good player who understands his role. Young man is a physical player on offense and on defense. He had career highs of 6 points versus Oak Forest and St. Lawrence. He had 6 rebounds against Riverside Brookfield. But what he gave us was more. He gave us toughness. He gave us hard-nosed play. And here's what I liked about him. He always gave us a smile. You know, he would get knocked down. The guy would pick him up and he'd tap him on the tail. You know, he would knock somebody down, he'd pick him up and tap him on the tail. I mean, it was just a clean, hard-nosed player. And we need people like that in our program. Outstanding overall athlete. And we're very happy to have him with us. Dave Mortis. You know, we talk about complex offense and defense. When we sit down and talk about our motion, we give certain people certain rules, and Dave's rule was, and we sat him down one day and we said, Dave, here's what we need you to do. We need you to, and I didn't want to use the word screen, so I said, you need to hit 2 people before you look for the ball. I go, can you hit 2 people? Can you screen 2 people? He's like, Coach, I'd love to screen 2 people. So he was always screening twice before he was looking for the ball. Our last junior, outstanding leader. He's been an outstanding leader since his freshman year at Stagg. He's going to end up being one of the best leaders to ever come through Stagg High School. He averaged 3.3 assists with a game-high 11 versus Bremen and 9 assists versus Oak Forest. He had 13 points at Sandburg and had 3 key 3-point shots to keep us in the game in the first half at Sandburg. Young man has not only an outstanding student, he's an outstanding person, and he's the cornerstone of our program. He's going to be a leader, a key component leader-wise next year. And to be honest with you, we're going to put a lot of responsibility on his shoulders, and I know he can take it. Urshad Shakir. And he listens so well. Okay, our seniors. We had 6 seniors. I talked a little bit about how they progressed. This young man was it's kind of a weird comment, and I want to explain it. I'm going to say he's a great team player. Okay, and what that means is he really developed what the team was. He worked hard in practice. He got along with everybody. And as you saw the year go, as well as you saw the summer go, because he improved over the summer, he really made himself into an unbelievable off-the-bench post player. And when David was in foul trouble, he came in. And he came in and really impacted some games keyly. I already mentioned the big shot at Sandberg in the fourth quarter. Huge shot. One shot he's probably going to remember for the rest of his life. He had 8 points versus Oak Forest. He had 6 rebounds versus Sandberg. Young man gave us 4 great years. Andy Booter. Next senior up. In the beginning of the year, we talk about being selfless. Not selfish, selfless. And all the kids were kind of looking around trying to figure out what that word meant. They're like, well, is Coach trying to tell us to be selfless? They had to almost get out a dictionary. But the ability to be selfless is you are doing things for the team that do not directly reflect to your own success. And this young man engulfed it to a point where if there was an award given for the all nations high school basketball, he would be the 6th Man of the Year award, bar none. Okay, he easily could have started. He could have competed for a starting lineup, but he understood that by coming off the bench, he gave us an unbelievable energy advantage, an offensive threat, a defensive threat, and he really made our team go. We don't win 15 games this year if this young man doesn't come off the bench and accept his role. Young man not only had great energy, he had, he's going to, you know what, he's going to really, really hear about his name being used for years to come. He's got an unbelievable ability that he developed to go on to the next play. And that's something we were hounding him for 2 years. And he made a turnover, and then all of a sudden he make a steal. It was almost to a point where we looked forward to him maybe making a mistake, because we always knew he was going to come back and do 2 good things. And that's when you know you have just a good basketball player. He averaged 2.9 assists per game with 7 assists versus Sandberg. He led us with 35 steals. He led us in the free throw line with 74.1%. We call him Mr. T. Anytime a technical was taken, he could have been on the bench. He could have been next to the Gatorade. He could have been in the training room. Nobody was taking a technical shot. But this young man, we were bringing him in, we were substituting him in, and we were putting him at the free throw line. Versus Oak Park, he had 19 points, career high. And then he had the game-winning shot against Andrew. Great player, and he really gave us solid varsity years. Again, much thanks to Nick Leonard. Nicest guy you ever want to meet. Okay, that was his line for 3 years. And then all of a sudden, he decided to be a little bit ferocious on the basketball court, and you saw a different side of him come out. He averaged 6 points a game, 4.6 rebounds. He had 15 points for St. Ignatius. He had 15 rebounds against Rich East. He was 49.3% from the field. And one of the things he really developed was his athletic ability, and he contained it in the basketball scheme of things, where he was a very good slasher. He developed into a great slasher to a point where he had a game-winning drive in the regional semifinals against Richards. We come out of a timeout. He gets trapped, and our last line was, if someone's pressuring you or trapping, break him down and take him to the hole. Johnny swept, broke him down, took him to the hole, finished it, and we ended up hitting a free throw, and we ended up winning by 3, and it was in the last minute 30. Okay, just made the most of his abilities, and we were real proud. Also, he loved the highlight. Probably the biggest highlight of the year was a dunk that didn't count, and it was a dunk against Willowbrook where he came over the back of someone and tip dunked it. It was probably one of the more remarkable dunks I've seen at Stagg High School. He did have that athleticism, so we are very, very proud of what Johnny Alexander has done. Young man is sick of this title, and he's not going to be able to shake it. He'll come back and shake my hand for years to come, and I'm always going to make sure I talk about him in this this frame of mind is he's our defensive stopper. He is our aggressive player. He was all-tournament at the Nieberge Classic. He was honorable mention all-area in the regional nudes. He averaged 6.2 points per game. He had 15 points versus Marist. He had a game high and a season high 5 assists versus Sandberg. He had 8 rebounds versus Joliet, and he just flat out shut people down. One of the things that he did was he hated, we switch defenses. He hated, as we call it, lock. He hated lock because he always wanted to stick the best player. Okay, and if he didn't get the best player on the floor, he was mad. I mean, vividly mad, where, you know, he showed it in his face, and, you know, he would do it, he'd work hard, but he always wanted the best defensive matchup. That was very, very admirable. What he did between last year and this year is he made himself into an offensive threat. He shot a very good percentage from the three-point arc. He really did some nice things slashing to the hole, and he really made our team what it was. Okay, and he was an outstanding leader. Jim Farrell. Second to last senior, 3-year varsity player. 3-year varsity player, leader, 3-sport athlete, honorable mention all conference, honorable mention all area in the regional and the Southtown. He led our team with 42 3-pointers, had a game high or career high 6 3-pointers versus Rich East. He averaged 8.7 points per game. He had 24 points, a career high versus Rich East. He averaged 3.1 rebounds. He had a game high 6 against Lincoln White Central and Glenbrook North. He had a game high 6 assists versus Palatine. There was a big 3 to be made. Dave Milnes wanted to step up and take it, and Dave Milnes more times than not did make it. Dave Milnes is the type of player that will be missed. He is a long line of Milneses. He is the last of that line, and the Milnes clan has really put out some very nice, not only young men, but unbelievable basketball players. So we're definitely going to miss the Milnes name, Dave Milnes. The last young man is going to probably get the shortest introduction. He's a 3-year varsity player. One of the number one attributes he has is he's one of the nicer young men off the floor. You know, as a junior and a sophomore, I had a teacher come up and said, I was struggling carrying a box, and this young man, I don't know his name, came up and asked me to carry it, and carried it to my car, carried it to my room, and I want to thank him, but I don't know his name. I go, well, can you describe him? He goes, well, he's kind of tall and blonde hair. I go, well, that's Dave Genslinger. She goes, well, he's just the nicest young man. And you know what? You know what? See that right there? He's going to get ribbed because of that. But you know what? That's an attribute that you never lose, because that right there will get you a long way in life, I guarantee. He's one of 2 Division I athletes ever come, basketball-wise, to ever come out of Stagg High School, where he signed a letter of intent to play at Western Illinois University next year. David Genslinger. Give the 2001-2002 varsity Chargers one more.